And we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake, and today we're just taking a quick look at Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. It's the PC version of the famous PS4 game, and I think PC fans have been waiting for this one for a while now. This is like the definitive samurai game for a lot of people, and now it's finally on PC. It's full price, $60 on Steam. We jumped in at launch and fired it up for a few hours, so we got some first impressions. Now, we usually jump in and give these a glance because Sony PC ports of their first-party titles have a history of rocky launches. Horizon had some optimization issues. I remember The Last of Us Part 1 being pretty notorious for having all sorts of weird and embarrassing glitches and problems, so we're always pretty wary during like the early days of these PC port releases. Thankfully, Ghost of Tsushima has been alright for me so far. It's got some problems, but most of them are minor. So gameplay-wise, it ran well, and it also looked really well, with minimal settings tweaking or fussing around. It boasts really comprehensive upscaling and frame generation, man. FSR 3, DLSS 3, NVIDIA's reflex stuff. There's a lot here to really maximize the fidelity and the amount of frames per second. It seems like you can get this bad boy really screaming if that's what you really want. And it does look great. Just seeing like the characters and the world rendered in higher quality and pretty flawlessly really makes Sucker Punch's original work stand out even more now. I mean, beautiful, detailed landscapes, realistic looking character faces, all just kind of amped up to 11 now. I mean, it was always a gorgeous game, even back on PS4. And being a huge fan of the original and then replaying it on PS5, it's not like a completely different looking game or anything, but it just looks much better. I said it then, and I'll say it now. This game's color palette really kicks ass, and the game has some of the best sunsets next to The Witcher 3 in my opinion. And again, gameplay wise, like I mentioned, it ran well. I didn't encounter any stuttering or frame rate problems within the first few hours that I did check out, so that's so far so good. At least they could screw it up in the last quarter of the game or something, who knows, but as of right now things are looking okay. Also, full widescreen support is great, as you can see here. This is really the perfect type of game for widescreen. The environments and the framing in camera just like really beg for it. A lot of cutscenes fit well, but unfortunately a few don't. And I guess this part is really if you're widescreen or not. Some of these are just not running in real time. There's some kind of like pre-rendered cutscene, and it just doesn't look very good. Sometimes the transition can be awkward because a cutscene can look great and then it'll briefly switch to a muddier looking one. These moments are few and far between, but they are there, and I did notice them, like, right away. At least the rest of the widescreen stuff is mostly nicely done. Also, I gotta say, it runs on Steamdeck surprisingly well. With everything on medium, I was getting a really solid and playable 30 frames per second that graphically still looked really nice and detailed. As a Steam Deck person, this makes me happy. Also, for the PSN thing, unlike recently with Helldivers 2, if you're just playing single player, you don't need to log in with a PlayStation account. If you want to play Ghost of Tsushima Legends, the multiplayer, which is very good and pretty underrated, then you need to log in with PSN, which does suck. If that's a big turnoff for you, well, now you know. And while we are on that, the game isn't available in enough regions. So because the game requires PSN to some extent, the game won't be available to regions without PSN, which seemingly is leaving a lot of PC gamers out in the cold, which sucks. There is a list if you need to look it up, and early Steam user reviews will be happy to inform you about that. Definitely a lot of discussion about that before launch and even now, so be aware depending on where you are. My bigger issues lie in problems with cutscenes and transitions. Part of what I mentioned earlier with like the pre-rendered stuff. If there's any big issue with this port, this is the type of stuff that I hope is fixed soon. There's like this weird occasional flickering during darker scenes where like a cutscene would then transition into gameplay. I'd get a bunch of weird flickering across the screen. Like case in point, the big opening ride across the field with like the title card after the intro, that kind of flickered for me and just took me out of it. It's a bit distracting. This also might just be a problem on my end, to be fair. Like I haven't been able to replicate it too well. Maybe it's something with my monitor. Right now I'm using an LG ultra wide OLED, so just be aware. I also saw one cutscene where there was briefly like a weird bizarre texture on Jin's hands. So every problem I have is small and can be patched, but it's still annoying. At least it's all cutscene based, really, gameplay wise. You know, there's no issues other than, oh, I did have this one weird glitch where during 2 standoffs, like when you hold the button and then like release it to kick it off, the button press just wasn't working or wasn't registering. So my character would just get stuck there until the enemy hit me. And that was frustrating and annoying. Seems like a weird little glitch, and I hope that's fixed soon. Maybe it's just me. Otherwise, Ghost of Tsushima is still a game I recommend everyone play, wherever you are. It starts off a bit slow, doesn't make the best first impression in my opinion. It kind of feels like just another open world game. But the deeper you go, the more you explore the world and master the combat, and the later you get into the story, this game is compelling top to bottom.
That's a hard way to live.
It's not supposed to be easy.
It's not the most challenging or the most like super in-depth with like RPG stuff, but it's both slow and contemplative and like a chill out type of game, while also being cinematic and entertaining, and most importantly for me, memorable. You also have the multiplayer mode that I mentioned earlier, and a solid expansion for even more challenge. It's a fully featured title, so like you are getting a lot here. The only thing is that the port isn't, you know, a 10 out of 10. I think it's pretty damn close. I've had some issues here and there. I've seen some other people report some issues, but you know, most people seem to be having a decent go with this one, at least right now. Of course, everybody's machine, everybody's experience is different, so I always suggest to do additional research after this, you know, check out some other videos, read some Steam reviews. Be sure to check the system requirements and stuff like that, of course. Like I always say up front, like we are not Digital Foundry, we go by feel here. But the port is good enough for me to continue playing because I do love this game, and now that I can play it on my Steam Deck, I'm probably gonna go sit on my couch and do that right after I finish this video. So if you'll excuse me, this is really a before you buy. You know how this works by now. We give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, and now we want to hear yours down in the comments. I'd love to know your experience with this game. Are you coming to it fresh as just a PC gamer? Are you somebody that also maybe had a PS4 and got your hands on it back when it released? Let me know what you're thinking. Have you been waiting? Is this your favorite game from this time period in Japan? Because there are a lot more now, but let me know. Let's talk about anything Ghost of Tsushima down in the comments. We just wanted to get some gameplay out here to show you guys some nice, you know, some nice shiny new widescreen gameplay. So, you know, if that helped you out at all, clicking the like button does help us out. Thank you. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Here.